Welcome to Sports CTO Talks. In this series, we would be connecting with industry leaders from sports and technology domain. I am Ami, your guide on this journey through amazing mind of sports tech leaders who are shaping the future. We will dive deep into discussions and understanding and innovations driving the industry. From AI to cloud, from cybersecurity to sustainability. If it is sports tech, we are talking about it. Today on the podcast, we have a very interesting guest for the first time. We welcome you, Mr. Malik, to the podcast.
Thank you for hosting me, dear.
Mr. 𝗦𝗫𝗍𝗫𝗃 brings over 2 decades of unmatched experience in events and business management. Having worked with global giants like WPP and Omnicon, he now leads Mangosteen. I hope I have pronounced it wrong, correctly. If mistake, I'm sorry.
No
It's
worries, you're doing
it's
well.
a perfect. It's a pioneering event firm operating across Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Malik is also a visionary behind some of the region's most influential platforms, including the Arab Sports Tech Forum, Arab Social Media Forum, and the MENA FinTech Festival. His thought leadership and innovation have earned him multiple global honors, including being named the top 100 global influencers and event professional by Eventex. We welcome you once again. And Malik, my first question to you is a very basic one. Like you are into the industry, who is shaping the industry from more than 2 decades. Then, like from fintech to sports, when you moved or when you shifted your focus or when you are doing both in the events world, what inspired you to go into the sports tech domain? And what are the opportunities you see in the sports tech, in specifically the MENA region?
Thank you for your question, dear. Just a small correction. We don't consider this shifting, but rather than positioning, we don't stop doing events
Okay.
we don't stop fintech and then we move into sports tech. We just
Okay.
add to our portfolio new IPs, new profiles. And when we pick events, we usually try to focus on niche verticals. So,
Hmm.
in events, there is either you go very broad,
Hmm.
like for example, when we talk about technology, you have GITEX, you have Leap, you have Web Summit, which is very, very broad, general technology slash entrepreneurship event. And then there is the niche verticals when you focus on a specific vertical of the technology for a specific sector, like, for example, fintech, sports tech, edutech, you name it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So when we picked, for example, fintech, we realized that Qatar positioned itself as one of the leading destinations for fintech, from offering to infrastructure to support from government, being one of the key four pillars that the 1 billion USD fund of fund that was announced by the Prime Minister was part of it, and you name
Okay.
it. And we,
Hmm.
we we took the pride to be the first one to introduce an international fintech event in Qatar back in 2021. We're going to introduce the fourth edition of MENA FinTech and InsurTech Festival in December
Wow.
at the ECC, the art of state of art venue at in Doha, at the heart of Doha's West Bay. And sports tech was one of the profiles that we wanted also to focus on, and we launched the first Arab Sports Tech Forum because we realized two things. Number one, because we've seen Qatar hosting mega sporting events,
Hmm.
from Asian Cup to FIFA World Cup to now FIBA coming in 2027 and the bid for the Olympics and you name it,
Hmm.
in addition to the 5 years contract of the FIFA Arab Cup, etc. And because we also defined the global, potential of the industry. Sports tech industry globally, we're talking about, while we speak, around 26 billion plus USD market, right?
Yes.
With a potential to grow to more than 130 billion USD until 2032, right?
22.
So this industry is an untapped industry when it comes to our sector, and we believe our commitment is to highlight this industry the potential of industry. And being an organizer, we do that through creating awareness, bringing stakeholders with the private sector, do a niche matchmaking platforms, and of course help in knowledge transfer. And this is why we believe we're picking the right profiles for Qatar and the MENA region.
Okay. So like when we talk about, when you were talking about there is a vision 2030, right? So what transformation you are seeing specifically into the sports tech domain? Like, is it evolving? Is it growing? And if yes, how is it growing in the event space? And what new things are coming on into the market? And like, is youth engagement there? Like what are the goals?
Look, I think what was done is very interesting and very good, considering that I can claim that worldwide people can confirm that the FIFA 2022 in Qatar was one of the best editions ever for the World Cup.
Hmm.
And I think part of that success was related to utilizing different technologies, whether it was for crowd management, or for fan engagement, or for in stadiums experience. But for sure, from youth empowerment and development, I think uh, initiatives like this would encourage a lot of startups and entrepreneurs to put together proposals for companies in sports tech industry that serves that purpose. And one example I can mention is a very good friend of mine, Mohammed, who launched a company called 𝗦𝗫𝗍𝗍𝗫 under the Sport Accelerator, and then this company focus was augmented reality in broadcasting. So you can watch the same match in 5 different regions, and the content you will see when it comes to advertising, for example, is completely different. The live analytics, before you used to do analytics after the breaks because your graphic team will work on the video to add some arrows and things like that.
Yes.
Now all of that can be automated with AI. So
Yes.
things like that, the 𝗦𝗫𝗍𝗍𝗫, for example, story is one of the success stories of how mega events can empower startups and sports tech industry. But if you tell me that is this enough, I think the potential is much bigger. There is a bigger room for bigger attention, and this is our mission by launching events relevant to that sector.
Correct. So, like when we are talking about the ecosystem, right? The event ecosystem, it requires a lot of alignments from your end. It can be government, it can be federations, it can be investors, multiple, like, there are a lot of key pillars. So, how did you build it? And, what were the steps? How did you like grow? How did you evolve into the industry and reach this level in
Look, I
the
wouldn't
area?
I wouldn't claim that we made it. I'm not satisfied with the results, to be honest with you. I think there is a long path to walk. But as we always say, 1,000 miles journey starts with a step. So we always take the pride to be the one who dares to make the first step, which not a lot of people, would want to. But is it enough? Definitely, it's not. In order to support such an industry, there is, I think, at least 3 key pillars that I would invest in as a stakeholder, as any country. Definitely, early access to early stage funding capital.
Hmm.
Definitely investing in infrastructure that supports such technologies, and most important is government support.
Yes.
Because all of these mentioned above, if it is not aligned with government, not vision, because I think government visions are always nice,
Hmm. Hmm.
but is it
True.
really put into actions that made it,
Yes.
doable? This is the real question. So I think these three pillars, if it is done the right way in any country, not highlighting a specific country, definitely it will take that sector into a different dimensions.
Okay. So when you like you have also led collaborations across GCC countries. So how can regional partnerships like between Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, because like I'm trying to understand that segment right now, how can that help into accelerating the innovation and avoid working in silos in the sports tech domain?
Look, we have a saying in Arabic. I will try to translate it. فاقد
Yes.
الشيء لا يعطيه. If you don't have it, you cannot give it. If you don't buy it, you cannot sell it. So we are a big believers in partnerships. So we as Mangosteen, as a company, we work closely with any potential partner, whether it's government or private, whether it's a supplier or it's a competitor. We believe there is always a room for collaboration and a room for partnership. And I think the same should be reflected on a regional scale. We have a very unique region, especially if I want to mention the GCC in specific. Imagine a region that has the similar character of strong infrastructure, strong leadership, strong capital funding, and most important, strong vision.
Mm.
And all of that is within 45 minutes flight among each other.
Mm.
This is a dream. You go to any
Yes.
other places, you spend 4 hours flight within the same country, not even to go to another country.
Yes.
So I think the accessibility that this region give to a big market that is called GCC, not Qatar, not Kuwait, not Saudi, not Oman, not Bahrain, not UAE, this whole market, I think, is a one market. And this is, I think, the partnership should be built. And this is why, as company that operates in 4 markets in this region, we try to focus on the idea of no competition rather than complementing and focusing on how we can work together. Not to mention that the scale is different when you talk about
Yes.
region, not about country.
Yes.
That the cost sharing is different when you talk about initiative that is taken by multiple countries instead of duplicating the same cost, for each country. And most important is that you have that benefit of cross-market validation, right?
Mm.
Instead of just validating one market, you have a big market with different criterias, from a big population like Saudi to a power to purchase like Qatar, to a good infrastructure like Dubai. So you have everything in different markets, but all together forms a one big market that can help you do proper market validation. So I think this is something, if the stakeholders play it smart and right, it can lead into a huge advantage.
Okay. And coming from that to the Arab Sports Tech Forum, what you had organized, and in your experience, what gaps do you see, like in the ecosystem, overall ecosystem? It can be funding, the policy, the awareness, or lack of technical capabilities, and how can it be enhanced, and how can we grow as a sports tech community?
Look, I think it's everything you mentioned except for the last one. I think the technical capabilities and the talent is there. I can tell you, as someone who organizes events, I'm always surrounded by amazing entrepreneurs,
Yes.
great startups with great technical capabilities. I think the technical infrastructure is also good. So I think definitely the access to funding is a key, obstacle, considering that these markets are not a cheap markets to survive. We're
Mm.
not talking about markets where the cost of living is low,
Mm.
a very high cost of living. So without having a proper, funding, it's very difficult for a startup to survive. Number two, policies definitely plays a big role, because I think in moving from investing only in well-established, profitable businesses into not even startups, but I think it's beyond startups. I think it's the R&D phase. We were talking to a friend of mine who runs a big R&D firm in Jordan, and he was explaining to me how difficult is people to invest in R&D companies, because
Yes,
R&D is a long term, right?
correct.
And no one wants long term, despite the fact that I mentioned to him that most developed countries in the world is the countries that invested most in the R&D.
Absolutely.
Look at all of these well-developed countries, compare their spendings on R&D, and you will realize that this is the reason why these people managed to become global leaders, because they really invested properly in R&D. And this is definitely reflected by the policies. And finally, awareness is definitely something that people, and this is part on us, of course, but also us as organizers. Without support, we cannot reach higher heights, because at the end of the day, our aim is not only to do local or regional initiatives. We want to do international initiatives, and we cannot grow and bring people together from all around the world if we don't have stakeholders who believe in us and believe in the potential of the industries that we pick to highlight. Definitely, with that support, we can contribute a lot to the awareness part, and we can make people, whether it's startups, technical people who want to define which industries they need to put their technical capabilities into, whether it's investor who is not sure if he should invest into sector like sports tech. This is all something we can sort out through creating awareness if we have the support.
Okay. So, I want to understand the fan experiences, when you go on the stadiums and when you are conducting events in the stadiums, how has that changed from the technological perspective? The sports experience, has it changed? Is it redefining, or it is a slow and gradual process? It can be both inside the stadium or outside the stadium.
Look, definitely, I think not to limit this into sports tech, I think we cannot deny that technology have changed our lives completely, from everything you're
Yes.
doing in your day-to-day activities, whether it's your payment processing in the wallets, to your super apps, ordering food or ordering your ride,
Hmm.
into booking your medical appointment, or even renewing your ID or your passport. The whole digital transformation era is a different era. So definitely this is impacting the sports tech the same way. Accessing your tickets and your matching seat is not the same. Watching your match on your mobile and your TV is not the same. Watching or hearing analysis for the match is not the same. Before, you used to have a lot of limited options. Now you can watch the same match with a different press of a button or a name of a channel, and then you can hear it in 10 different languages, right?
Correct.
So I think definitely it redefined sports technology, redefined, the experiences, and it will keep redefining it. I think I see that as a positive change, as long as it keeps the human element and emotions as part of it.
So, when you're meeting so many people into the industry, it can be fintech, it can be sports tech, or anything, everyone is talking about AI, AR, VR. So, how do you see it? What is the next big thing into the event space, and how it is growing?
Look, I will differentiate between events and sports events, because when we talk
Hmm.
sports events, AI then becomes a sports tech arm. But when I
Correct.
talk events in general, AI becomes more serving the events sector. And
Correct.
because we have two different hats, me as an event organizer
Hmm.
is different than me specifically being the organizer of the Sports Tech Forum. So I
Absolutely.
will mention a bit of both.
Yes.
Uh, um, but before tapping into that, it's worth mentioning that the AI in sports tech as a sector, since I mentioned the figures for the general
Hmm.
sports tech market globally, the AI in sports tech market is valued currently at $1 billion. USD alone as only AI in sports tech. So this is something worth mentioning. When it comes to events in general, definitely AI is redefining events, and this is something we talked about in our Qatar Events Show. So one also of our own IPs in Qatar is Qatar Events Show.
Okay.
It's an event for the event industry in Qatar.
Hmm.
And during the last event, which was in September, we mentioned on the stage, I mentioned personally that we don't want to keep claiming trendy, terms just for the sake of saying AI,
Hmm.
AI. How we really can reflect the usage of AI by really implementing it in our events. And I gave two examples, which is, for example, in our mobile app, how we used the AI matchmaking after you define your criteria, how it makes sure that it connects you with the relevant connections. One other thing we mentioned is the AI in image processing. How instead of you going to go through a photo gallery that has 10,000 photos to find 5 photos of you, versus you using our mobile app to have a selfie, and then immediately it filters your photos with a click of a button. This is a real use of AI that changes, redefines, events industry. If I want to tap into more a sports tech element, I think the best example I would mention is what already FIFA 2022 Qatar presented as the instant live AR analysis during the match. So if you
Okay.
are sitting in a stadium, no matter where you're sitting, you open your mobile, you're using the camera, and immediately on your camera, you will have a lot of AR elements
Hmm.
explaining to you who's the players, what's happening, etc., without doing anything. So this is already not something we will have after 10 years. This is something we had 3 years ago. So I think it is already there. It is redefining the experiences, and I'm expecting to see much more.
Absolutely. So when you are saying it is there, like, from past like 3 years, it like you have seen it's there. So we cannot say it's emerging. It is going to grow, right? So
Yes.
according to you, what kind of skills or mindsets do you think people need, or the government needs, or as a overall region, like, to nurture the technical and the creative experiences? What is required?
Look, I think if I want to talk about the overall, you're talking globally or you're talking in the region in specific?
Region specific.
Yes, I think if we talk about the region in specific, the first thing definitely people need to understand is the potential in the region, because we talked about the global market,
Hmm.
right? So we need to
Hmm.
define the regional market, and we're talking here about more than 870 million US dollars market size,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Which is expected to grow by 20% annually, right?
Hmm.
Potential as numbers is massive. I think the entrepreneurs and the startups, they need to understand what are the potential revenue models that they can focus on to push these sports tech startups.
Hmm.
And there is definitely different streams. You can do the B2B SaaS service, software as a service, or as a subscription. You can have the sponsored products focusing, because sports is always tied with sponsorship, so it can be one of the elements. You have the monetization of data, because you're talking about big data here, and definitely monetization of content, because sports content is one of the most viewed and preferred content globally.
Absolutely.
Becomes more ways to monetize when more mediums and platforms to broadcast. And I think that gives another opportunity, especially when someone like SpawnX introduces these AR, integration, which help you, generate more sponsorship revenue streams.
Absolutely. One last question. I have a few more, but we'll stick with one last question. It's like, what is your, as a individual person and a company, long-term vision for the Arab Sports Tech Forum? Like, because it is growing, it is evolving, and it is doing amazing work. So it can be for the MENA region and for the global sports tech community also. Like what, like the next 5 years or the next 10 years, what do you see?
Look, our plans, and this is something now we're currently discussing not only with one country in the
Hmm.
region, we're discussing with stakeholders in Oman, Saudi, and Qatar, in addition to the UAE.
Hmm.
And our objective is to create, as you mentioned, a regional flagship that does not treat it as a country based, but as a region for the world,
Hmm.
as a global flagship event to help in, redefining and pushing that sector and that industry. So we're investing a lot of time to redefine the format and the stakeholders to make sure that the impact is sustainable and it's really powerful.
Okay, perfect. We'll move on to the next segment of the podcast. That's rapid fire questions. I'll ask you a few questions and you'll have to be very quick in answering.
I will try my best.
Okay. First is, if you could host one sports event anywhere in the world, no budget is the limits. Where would it be?
Sports tech event or
Yes,
sports?
sports
Sports
tech.
tech.
Sports tech.
Sports tech event, I would still do it in the GCC. And
Okay.
I will treat it as a one country. I will not split it.
Perfect. One piece of sports technology you wish existed but does not.
One piece of sports technology I wish it existed, but not. If I know, I will make it as a startup to invest in.
Okay. Which city do you think will become the next sports tech capital of the MENA region? Doha, Dubai, Riyadh, or is there any dark horse?
I would still position the GCC as one region. I would not pick one city over the other. I will still give the credit to Doha being positioned as a sporting leader since it has already a lot of success stories in
Hmm.
delivering mega sporting events.
Hmm.
But that's sports. Talking about sports tech in specific, I think the region as a region still can play the role of the hub of sports tech in the world.
Absolutely. Esports or outdoor sports? What gets your adrenaline going more?
Look, I still think part of what we should do, and this is sorry difficult to answer it quick because I have kids and this is something I think impacts the I still believe that should be two-way education on that part.
Hmm.
Parents should be educated that esports is something important, and now
Hmm.
there is professional players who are getting 70 million US dollars per year for playing games that some parents think are silly.
Hmm.
But also we need to educate kids that physical
Yes,
exercise and physical sports
absolutely.
is a must. You get me? So I think the balance is needed.
Okay. If you could collaborate with any global sports or tech brand, who would you call first?
Look, I honestly, I will thank the brand that we already collaborated with, which is La Liga Tech. It's part
Okay.
of La Liga. They have, I think, they rebranded it now. But at the time we collaborated with them, it used to be La Liga Tech. So that's the first one came to my mind because it's one of the best, leagues
Yes.
that I've been watching.
Okay. What's your pre-event ritual? Coffee, chaos, or calm?
Come again?
What is your pre-event ritual? Coffee, chaos, or calm?
Coffee.
Okay. One wild prediction for the future of sports that might actually come true by 2030.
It's it's a difficult questions. A lot of things happening in that era. But if I would want something to really change, is the human, which is something we did not have chance to talk to about you in the session, but I think it's good not to conclude that interview before talking about that. The human impact. We talked a lot about, how sports tech can change lives, but we talked about the general, experiences. We did not talk about specific segment, which I would love to talk about, which is people with disabilities. I
Yes.
think sports tech can play a very, very important role in changing the way that segment, interacts and have the opportunity to be part of these. So, for example, I will give quickly one or two important examples that touched me personally. One of them, for example, is a crane that you put next to the pool, right? And then it's a very, very small crane, very simple, but it changed the lives of people who are on wheelchair, because these people, they watch you swim, they cannot swim without a lot of help. With this
Correct.
crane, simply you set them on that crane, and then it carries them inside the pool as is to enjoy the experience with the people, and then it can put them back. Very nice, quick, short, not expensive technology. I would love to see more of these technologies in places where it's not available, because I don't see it around me.
Even I
The other
don't.
thing is, one of the speakers that I hosted in Ali in the last Arab Sports Tech Forum was the gentleman who invented with his partner a device for blind people, which acts like a mouse, but that mouse allows them, I think it embedded the Braille technology, so it helps them play games and function on computer, the functions that me and you we do and on mouse, because we
Correct.
can see the screen. Usually blind people cannot do, except if they can hear. With this mouse, is even without hearing, they can use, they can interact, they can play esports, they can do functions. And this is something that touched me a lot. So if I would wish something, I would not wish for more advanced technologies in only in like experiential marketing and fan engagement, rather, and also how we can empower, the community and help people who need it.
Correct. Correct. One last question. You'll have to answer it into 30 seconds. Like, how will AI play a role in building the sports tech ecosystem in the region?
AI,
Yes.
look, I think AI is changing not the sports tech, but the way me and you are interacting now, how you prepare your questions, how I answer my questions, how we are researching the data. Everything we're doing now is changed by AIs, right?
Correct.
I think what is needed most is educating the people on the right use of AI. Again, as someone who have kids, instead of me trying to avoid letting my kids use AI, because I think it will let them be lazy, or depending on the technology without using their brain. I let them know how to use it to their own good without depending fully on it, so we can have that balance. So again, I think the same way I talked about the balance between esports and the real sports, physical sports, I think the future of AI depends on how we balance between the real life brain functions and how much we depend on AI.
Perfect. Thank you, Malik, for sharing your insights and joining us and giving your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for hosting me, and I look forward to hearing the feedback of your audience.
Absolutely. So, everyone, let's stay connected and share this podcast with all the people who love sports and technology. We will meet in the next episode next week. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep exploring.